when it causes us to kind of cringe and say, I don't know if I really agree with that, how do we respond? Do we respond by saying, God, no, I think this is what you meant? Or do we say that, God, you are God, I'm not, and so I obey? Isaiah 55, 8 through 9, it says, God he proclaims through the prophet Isaiah, he says, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. You see, when we talk about pride, brothers and sisters, it's not just when things are going, it doesn't really draw its head too much when things are going well. The times that it seems to come out the most is when we disagree, when things don't go the way that we want. And see, notice what the basis of it that I described earlier, it's when we draw attention away from God and to ourselves. It's when we don't get what we need. It's when our standards aren't met. That's when this crisis comes. There's this conflict when we're saying, God, when we hear God say one thing and then we think another thing, how do we respond? Do we say, God, you know better? Or do we say, no, I think I know a better way? Because essentially that's what the people that are surrounding Jesus are saying when they hear Jesus say things, when they hear Jesus preaching, when they see Jesus doing these miracles, they're like, Jesus, I don't know. I don't think that's right. I think I know a better way. And the Pharisees were really, really good at that because they were saying, Jesus, what's better? Don't do it on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to work on the Sabbath. You're not supposed to say the things that you're saying because that's only for the Son of God, and you can't claim that. The Pharisees are really good at that, and Jesus is asking us this morning, hey, look, pride is something that's very important, and it comes out most of the times when we tend to disagree with God. So how do we respond when we don't know? And you see, what happens when we leave pride unchecked? It leads to jealousy. It gives birth to jealousy. Okay? Because why? Remember, again, pride is about drawing attention to me. Okay? It's about drawing attention to me. If you leave it unchecked, if we don't address this concept of taking attention from God and putting it to me, where it's all about me and it's not about God anymore, what happens? It slowly starts developing into other things. Okay? What happens? These people, when they hear Jesus talking in these things, he says, hey, who is this guy? Isn't this Mary's son? Isn't this a carpenter? And they're comparing Jesus to themselves. And they're saying, wait, this guy, he thinks he's better than us? Okay? Because what is jealousy at the heart of it? Okay? Jealousy is when we have negative thoughts, feelings of insecurity, fear, and anxiety over an anticipated loss of something that is precious. Something that is valuable, okay? So when we have these negative feelings, these anxieties, this fear of losing something that is precious to me, that is drawing attention away from me. And so if you leave pride unchecked, it starts developing into other things when all the glory and the attention that we deserve starts getting taken away. And in this case, it's what? It's attention, right? For us, it's attention. It's like, look, I'm God. I know better. I want this. And then all of a sudden, there's this fear of it being taken away. I see this jealousy in our household a lot these days. And I see it in my son. Okay, we have a 1-month-old baby girl, and our son is about 2 years old, and I see this a lot. Okay, and my son, he's a very, very smart boy. Okay, he really is. Not just because I'm his father and I'm saying he's smart, but I think he's really smart. Okay, we speak mostly in Korean, and we throw in a little bit of English here and there, and he understands both language pretty well, and now he's imitating all sorts of different words, and so every time he coughs, he goes, bless you, right? He'll sneeze, and he'll go, bless you. If anyone else sneezes, he goes, bless you, and when we give him something, we're trying to teach him good manners, and so we'll give him something, he goes, thank you, right? And he's just a really smart kid. When my wife and I, we brought our daughter Kyla home, my son was very, very confused, okay, because he came to visit us at the hospital, and he's like, what is mommy doing with another baby? But he was okay for a few hours because he's like, okay, they're going to come home and the baby's not going to be there. But we came home and here we are in the baby seat, there's another baby, and you should have seen the look on his face because he's like, wait, why did you bring that thing home? I thought you were just renting it at the hospital. Why did you could see it on his face, and I tell you, if he could speak, I think that's what he would have said. He's like, Mommy, you stole a baby from the hospital. Right? You're not supposed to bring this thing home. And we brought it home, and guess what? He was really confused, and you can see that he's conflicted. And every single time my wife would be nursing our daughter, my son, he's good, he's smart, he knows that this is a baby, and so babies get hurt, and so he doesn't take it out on her, but he gets really stressed out. And I don't know, it's really funny because he doesn't really take it out on anybody else, but he gets really stressed, he doesn't know what to do, so he'll start like yelling, he'll start like pounding his feet, he'll pick up toys, throw it out on the ground, and he'll just do these weird things. And lately what he does is, when we're watching the baby, he'll like, he'll ipunjit, like the pretty thing, he'll touch him nice and softly, and then when we turn around, he'll go, bang! And of course my daughter doesn't know what's going on, and so she'll be feeding him, and then she thinks it's her mom hitting her or something like that. And so she's looking up like, Mommy, why do you keep hitting me or something, right? But I see this often, and I think what's happening to him is that he's afraid. Because why? Mommy and Daddy's love used to be focused and concentrated on him, and now all of a sudden he's losing him, and he's realizing he's not the center of the world anymore. I'll tell you when it's better. It's better when my wife is nursing Kyla, and at the same time, both myself and my wife, we show him attention. We praise him for good things. We stroke his hair. When my wife kisses him while she's nursing. When my wife gives him extra attention, because why? It helps him to understand, wait, I'm not losing my parents for this child. That my parents still love me. And I think slowly but surely he's starting to understand, oh, it's not just about me. Now it's about me and one more person. These people, they're saying the same thing. When it's all about us, it's all about the way that we think, when left unchecked, it starts becoming like this, because we're like saying, wait, and it's related to what we talked about last week. Because when Jesus says surrender, when Jesus says give up everything, when Jesus says follow me and submit to my authority, when we disagree with it, when it starts to rub against us, and all of a sudden Jesus is saying, look, you're not the center of the world anymore. It's not about you or me. It's about God. It's about His Son. And many of us were like, wait, no. It is about me. It's always been about me. And then you leave that unchecked, and all of a sudden everything that threatens that identity, everything that threatens, whether it's your loved ones, whether it's your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, your friends, your workplaces, people on the road, when they threaten that attention away, it starts developing into this form of jealousy. It's like, wait, you're taking something away from me, from the spotlight that's supposed to be on me. And so God, He's saying to us, look, pride isn't just something that happens, every single moment. It happens normally when we disagree with something. When you hear God say something in your life. And I know because I've talked with many of you, and we've been talking a lot about this, about giving up everything, about following Jesus, about what it means to be a disciple. And I've talked to many of you, and including myself, were uncomfortable about this idea because I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like in the 21st century. For me, as a father of 2 children, what it looks like to give up everything, to sell everything to follow Jesus. What does that mean, Jesus? Am I not supposed to take what you say literally? Am I supposed to try to contextualize it in our culture today? To try to understand, well, Jesus, He wasn't really talking about that, about people who have 2 kids. And people who need to send their kids to college soon. And so you can't give up everything. You have to save a little bit, because how are you going to send your kids to school? I'm thinking about all these things, and I'm trying to wrestle with it, but the more I study the Scriptures and the more I try to reason with it, the more God speaks to me about this issue about, hey, when you don't disagree, do you say, God, you are in control and you know best, or do I say, God, I don't think that's what you meant. I think this is what you meant. And let me tell you how it's supposed to be looked at. And I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy topic because I'm still trying to figure it out. And I constantly wrestle with this issue about, God, how do I understand this? And how do I make sense of what it means to give you total control and say, you are God and I am not? But the more I try to hold on to things, the more I try to be selfish, the more I try to draw attention to say that, God, no, I don't think your ways are right, the more I struggle with this. Whether it's at home, with my kids, with my friends. I struggle with that because why? I start to become very insecure about who I am in God. And notice something very interesting in the part of our passage at the end. The people respond this way, and look in verse 5 and 6. It says that Jesus could not do any miracles there. And we need to address this really quickly because it's not like Jesus was unable. That's not what Mark is saying. That's not the language that he's using, because Jesus could, if he wants to, force healing or do miracles regardless of the people's conditions and the condition of the people's hearts. But he's saying that Jesus could not, and he's alluding, when we look at all the different miracles in the past 6 chapters that we've been studying in Mark, all the different stories of the miracles that are happening, it's been under the presumption that the recipient has some sort of faith that God can heal them. That God is the only one that can save. That God is the King of the universe, and that they are not. You see, only when they have that kind of a faith has God healed a certain amount of people. And in verse 6 it says he was amazed at their lack of faith. And this word amazed is the same word that the people used when they say that they were amazed when they heard God. He was shocked at their unbelief. You know, this seems like a very negative thing, right? But I think one of the ways that Mark and the rest of the scriptures, they address passages like this is very, almost comically both ways. Because whenever you hear a different